Untitled War here, and today we've got a rating your campaign video. So we've got 5 legendary difficulty Karaz-a-Karak campaigns to go through today. Most of them are early game ones. We've got 4 of them that are early game and 1 of them mid game. So this one here, it's on turn 53, and I'm just going to go straight into the evaluation and then explain it. So in terms of the economy, I'm rating this one a 10 out of 10. I think this one's got a really strong economy. Diplomacy, 6 out of 10. And military, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. So overall, this campaign, I'm going to rate as a 7.6 out of 10. Now, this is probably one of the fastest early game expansions that I've ever seen somebody send in. He's got an absolute ton of territory. He's expanded all the way from Drakenhof. No, he's even further than that. He's at Eschen, all the way down to Karak-Zorn. But there is something to take into consideration here. This is the only one of the 5 campaigns that was sent in on normal battle difficulty. So that made the campaign significantly easier for him. So I was a little bit harsher with the score on his military because he has less to deal with than everybody else did. Now, you play whatever battle difficulty you want, but if you're not playing on very hard battle difficulty, you know, you're not having to deal with as much as everybody else that is playing on it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he's still done a good job, don't get me wrong. An 7.6 is a good score. Now, let's have a look at diplomacy here. Now, this is where I think he's really let himself down. So, one of the drawbacks to expanding this quickly is that you're going to meet a lot of people. And one of the drawbacks as well to having a lot of allies is that they're going to draw you into wars a lot of the time. So, he's at war with Wissenland, Sylvania, Bone Rattlers, Crooked Moon, Skullcrag, and the Last Defenders. Now, sometimes the Last Defenders will just declare war on you for no reason, so I'm not going to hold too much against that. But this is a lot of wars to be on, especially when you've only got 4 armies, and you've got this much territory, most of which is not particularly well developed. I can definitely see that he's made a rush to this point, but that getting to mid-game, I don't see a lot of expansion happening unless he wins a lot of heroic victories, which he definitely could do on normal battle difficulty, so that definitely is a possibility. Another thing to consider is that I don't think his armies are very good. There's a lot of melee infantry in here, which normal battle difficulty, these will perform significantly better than very hard battle difficulty, for sure. But I don't think that these are the best armies that I've ever seen. This is not the strongest military. But yeah, the amount of money that he's making is really, really good. So that's, I think, his strong point. I mean, to be making 27,000 gold, 6,000 of which coming from trade, by turn 53 with the dwarves is exceptional. Which is really what's carrying this campaign. You're definitely going to need that money because I can see a lot of wars pop up over the next few turns while you're consolidating this territory. Unless you're really aggressive and put them down before things get out of control. But that leaves to be seen. More than happy to see how this campaign goes in the mid or late campaign if you want to send it back in later. But overall, I'm going to give this one a 7.6 out of 10. Good, strong campaign, I think, that is, going to suffer some problems in the next few turns, the next 10, 20 turns. Alright, let's move on to the next one, which is on turn 55. Now, this one here is just a solid campaign. I've rated it overall 7 out of 10. Economy 7, diplomacy 7, military 7. This is kind of the benchmark of what you should do if you're good at dwarves. This is a good solid dwarf campaign. It's neither bad nor exceptional. So this is kind of the benchmark of what you should be aiming for. So by turn 55, he's taken the Black Crag. He's making 11,000 gold per turn, which is quite significantly less than the other one. But you also got to consider that he has less territories, and also he has way less problems. Okay, he's only got 2 armies, so his economy is a lot easier to manage. But also don't forget, he's got a lower score. So looking at diplomacy, he's at war with the Bloody Spears, which are practically dead, Grimgor's Ardboys, which are again practically dead, and Arguelon, which really aren't going to bother him. So in terms of his actual situation, he's got a pretty easy time at the moment. He's basically just doing a cleanup job. But he hasn't done any confederations. He's met most of the dwarves. It's fine. It's just a solid campaign. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing amazing about it. He's just doing, I think he's just doing everything right. And this is on very hard battle difficulty. I checked. Okay, so a good one, 7 out of 10 for this one, which isn't a bad score, by the way. Okay, the next one, this one I think is a bit stronger. At turn 55, I'm gonna rate this one 8.6 out of 10. So economy, I think, is 9 out of 10. Diplomacy, 8 out of 10. And military, 9 out of 10. So this one is just, I just think it's just going really, really well. And it's at the same turn as what we just saw here. So, by comparison, you can see this one is, basically 1.6 points ahead of this one. It is a, if the other one was a, good B- campaign, this is probably an A- campaign. This is a good one. All right, so we have a look here, and he's making 19,000 gold. Not as much as the first one, but then again, he didn't get a 10 out of 10. But he also doesn't have as much territory, which is not so bad because the territory that he has is of higher quality. Looking at his diplomacy, he's only at war with Sylvania, which really isn't that much of a problem by the look of it. Most of their territory up in the north, and Drakenhof over here is under siege. So, assuming that succeeds, he's probably not going to have to worry about them, and he's just going to have to focus on Grimgor. Now, normally you'd want Grimgor to have been eliminated by this point, but he has done the right thing and taken the Black Crag, and he's taken all the territory down here. But I think what happened in this campaign is that Grimgor actually focused down south and smashed up Clan Moors. So that's just someone that you won't have to deal with in your campaign, because normally the way that will go is that you defeat the Greenskins, and then after that you basically played the Skaven War, and that's really nasty because dwarves don't do well against Skaven. So if you're dealing with the Greenskins instead of Skaven, that's actually going to make things significantly easier for you. So yeah, diplomacy is going really well. Looking at his military, for an early game armies, I think there's too many melee infantry in there just by a little bit. I definitely think you should have melee infantry in your dwarf armies, but the main thing here is just not having artillery in these armies. That's my only real complaint. But yeah, this is on very hard battle difficulty, and I think this is just a good solid campaign, like a good A- campaign. Alright, let's move on to the next one, which I think this one is the best one that was sent in. So this one's the mid-game one. This one's 40 turns later. And this one also sent in a Google Drive link, so if you want to download and play this campaign, you can. I will leave it as a pinned comment. So this one's at turn 95, and in terms of economy, I've rated it 9 out of 10. Diplomacy, I've rated 9 out of 10. And in terms of military, I've rated 10 out of 10. So just wait for it to load. This is really a very, very strong campaign that I think he's done here. Now, he's making 43,000 gold per turn. Now, he didn't get a 10 out of 10 for economy, even though the first one was making less money than him. But you also got to consider that there are 40 turns separating the two. So we've got to take that into account. I definitely think he could make a bit more cash than this. In terms of diplomacy, I think it's just really strong. It's got a couple of defensive allies, which is the right way to go with dwarfs. He's at war with Grimgor's Ardboys, but Grimgor is not really a problem. I think what happened here is that he confederated Azag and then just expanded this way, and you don't even border Grimgor anymore. This is really somebody else's problem now, probably Clan Molder's problem. So I'd say that your job is done with Grimgor. So he's moved on to the second phase of a dwarf campaign, which is Skaven War, which is harder. And he seems to be doing really well. Clan Eshin is being brought to their heels. They're down to their last 4 settlements, and you can see that he's making a big push to get to the Flayed Rock. Looking at Clan Wars that he's also at war with, they're a little bit on the strong side, but you are still stronger than them. But you've taken away his headquarters, so big kudos to that. Looking at his armies, these are better quality armies than what we saw before. Maybe a little bit behind where he could be, but that's probably because he's being quite aggressive in this campaign. Rather than going back and be like, oh, I have to have Doomstacks in all of my armies, which, by the way, you don't. If your early game army, like this, is still competent at this point, then that's totally fine. I'm not expecting to see flame cannons and stuff in a dwarf campaign by this time. I don't expect any of your settlements to be at tier 5. And if we have a look at it, you're just about to be at tier 5 now. So that's totally fine. But we can see over here, he's getting organ guns and iron breakers in here. So his military is certainly a force to be reckoned with, and his strength rank is 4. So good, strong campaign, good diplomacy, good economy. Overall, a 9.3 campaign. I think this is better than a lot of the campaigns that I play as a Dwarves. This is going really, really well. Alright, now moving on to one that I think is actually performing really badly. We've got another early game one here at turn 48, and this is a campaign that really sort of failed to launch. Not one that I would think is a disaster campaign, but it's one that could be a disaster campaign if the next few turns go badly. So, in terms of rating this one coming, their economy, I've given it a 5 out of 10. Diplomacy, a 5 out of 10. And military, a 3 out of 10. He is, to lack of a better word, he's getting overrun. So, hang on. And these things. So, looking at how much money he's making, he's only making 9,242 a turn. Not a lot, because he doesn't have a lot of territory. He's got 3 consolidated provinces, which is good, don't get me wrong, but what he really needed to do is... And this is what you need to do when you play as Karaz-a-Karak. You need to take the Black Crag as early as possible. I would say that you should, at the very latest, start making the move towards Black Crag at turn 30. If you can take it earlier than that, great. But at the very latest, you have to have captured it around between 30 and 35. You know, if I'm still sitting around here in turn 30, I'm usually starting to panic, basically. And this is 18 turns after that, so really the reason for that is that you really don't want the Black Crag to get to tier 4, which means that the Black Orcs can be produced in one turn at your doorstep. And not that Black Orcs are individually a problem, it's just that the Greenskins get a ton of cheats, and that if you have still early game armies, you're probably not... You don't have organ guns. I mean, the Thunderers will be okay against them. They're just very tanky and they just take a lot to kill. And if you're outnumbered by Black Orcs, it's going to be very difficult for you to deal with them if they're being mass produced. Especially considering the replenishment rate of the Dwarves is quite significantly lower than pretty much everyone else. If you have a look at his diplomacy, he's not at war with a lot of people, but the problem here is he's at war with 2 people that are significantly stronger than him. And he's stretched really thin. He's only got 2 armies. This one here is, you know, it's pretty good army, but the reason why I've given it 3 out of 10 is because I feel like he's getting overrun. This is the only army that we can see, but I feel like every few turns, Grimgor is just going to send army after army after army in here and just going to slow him down. He has got walls up here, which will help. Karaz-a-Karak is still only at tier 3, and it looks like it's a fair distance away from getting to tier 4, and he hasn't got the growth edict in there. Technologies, he didn't get the other what's it called, the growth technology, which I really think is essential early on in the campaign. You want to get that as fast as possible because you need that growth. Dwarves are crippled by growth problems. Everybody else had it done. I checked all their stuff. I just included that into the economy rating without actually having to look at it, you know, in the video. And this army over here, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's costing 3,000, while this region here is not making a ton of money. And I think that the vampire accounts are probably going to go to war with you very soon. So I think that this campaign, the next 10 turns are going to dictate whether or not this is going to be an okay campaign or a really bad disaster campaign. It's all just going to depend if the vampire accounts declare war, and whether or not you can actually take Thorgrim Grudgebearer and push your way to the Black Crag. You need to do that right away, or else this campaign is going to go belly up really quickly, even more so than it already is. So this is definitely the weakest of the 5, I think. Anyway, that's my rating for all 5 of these campaigns. Let me know in the comments below what you think, whether you think I was fair or unfair on any of these, how you like the criteria, the structure of it. You know, this is early days of doing these videos, so early feedback is greatly appreciated. But I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you've learnt something, and I hope the people that we've sent that have sent in these save files, they've got a bit of valuable advice on how they can continue the campaign, especially the first one and this one here, the one that's overextended, and this one here that's just failure to launch essentially. I think he just focused too much on getting to Mount Gunbad early on, which it's rich, don't get me wrong, it is, but you're better off crippling Grimgor early on, which isn't too difficult to do. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time, fuckers. Appreciate you. Bye.